And so this kind of development of creative tourism is, if you like, logical in the network society because it provides a link between these dispersed actors, structures and network. It links all these creative people together. It represents, I would argue, a shift from a focus on bonding capital, culture as glue, what holds us together as a community, towards bridging capital. How do we link to other people and other cultures? It facilitates interaction with an increasingly diverse cultural landscape. And it develops the visibility and attractiveness of intangible resources. And you probably can't see this, but this is an illustration from Catalonia, which shows that the tangible heritage is effectively very small. You have 100 museums, you have 2,000 monuments, but you have 4,000 festivals in Catalonia, you have 8,000 cultural associations, and you have 1 million members of those cultural associations. So if you like, buildings such as La Pedrera are just a tangible tip of the creative iceberg. There is a lot which remains below the surface and below the radar of the tourists and also, importantly, of the policymakers very often. So this needs to be brought to the surface. We need to link these elements into a value network, and we can use this as an essential resource for creating atmosphere, because this is what the atmosphere of a place is all about. It's not about the building, it's about the people. And it is about the mix of locals and tourists, of producers and consumers and so on. So we have a number of challenges in the development of creative tourism. We have the challenge of developing creative potential, and the creative potential of the tourist is very important in this respect, because creative tourism is a chance for them not just to take home photos, but to take home creative ideas, creative products and so on, and they actually take home new skills instead of tangible souvenirs. We need to create involvement. We need to create forums in which knowledge and values can be exchanged. We need to make sure that the experiences that we provide are actually characteristic, linked some way to the creative life of the region. So, you can do art anywhere. That's a creative activity. But why should you come and do art in Barcelona or Catalonia or anywhere else? I mean, you can quite easily make the argument, but that argument has to be made. You can do art tours in Catalonia on the basis of come and paint where people like Dali and Miro were inspired to paint. And that provides you with the link. But if you don't have that, then you're simply saying to people, come and do art with us. Well, yeah, you can go and do art anywhere. So that's no reason for choosing to be a creative tourist in your region. So we need to link the creativity to the place. We need to develop co-creation. We'll hear more about this during the course of the conference. But we need to bring the producers and consumers together, because unless the producers are informed by the consumers, they're not going to be able to keep up with the rapidly changing creative landscape that they need to deal with. And we need to create visibility for all of this. So creative tourism is not easy. It is a major challenge, and it's doing tourism differently. Cultural tourism, in contrast, is relatively easy. We have a building, we sell tickets, we can all go home. Creative tourism is very much more difficult, but I would argue that it's very much more worthwhile as well, because the benefits are potentially much greater. What we have seen over the last 10 years is the development of a number of different models and types of creative tourism. We've gone from our original definition, if you like, of creative tourism as being active learning in specific courses and workshops, to seeing the development of a wide range of different types of creative activities. So you can do tastings, short experiences of creative activities, you can go and see other people's creativity, and you can go and buy other people's creativity. So there are tours in Barcelona which will take you around all the cutting-edge ateliers to go and buy your creative products. So essentially, you can talk about creativity as an activity at this end of the spectrum, and creativity as a kind of background to tourist activity at this end of the spectrum. And essentially, this is a spectrum of increasing involvement of not only the tourist, but also the producer in the creativity of the destination. And we also see an increasing range of forms of delivery. And that's essentially what I'm going to talk about now, is to illustrate some of these different forms that creative tourism is taking on. I'm not going to do this in too much detail because you will be getting a wide range of examples of creative tourism products in the rest of this conference. But I do just want to take you quickly through some of these developments. The first real development of creative tourism as a product was the Creative Tourism New Zealand network, which you'll also hear about in more detail later. But this was set up as a network of informal workshops provided by local craftspeople in general, where you could undertake things like basket weaving or bone carving. You could make your own Maori fish hook souvenir to take home with you. And so it was the start of this new concept. And although it's been a very hard sell in New Zealand, which has a very small international tourism market, it has provided the inspiration for a lot of other people to do similar kinds of things and to develop the idea in different ways. So as Victor was saying, Barcelona has picked up this idea and turned it into something very different from the New Zealand model, because this is based largely on contacts between artists, about creating creative exchange, creative life in the city. And so this is a very different model. It's not based on come to us to have workshops and see what the local craftspeople are doing. This is based on artistic and cultural contact between people within the city. So it's a facilitation of co-creation, if you like. So I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about Barcelona, so I won't go into too much more detail about that. But this idea of tasting, of finding out about other people's creativity, is expanding in all parts of the world. So in Korea, for example, you can go and stay at a Buddhist temple and you can get a taste of what it's like to be a Buddhist monk, to live the Buddhist lifestyle and so on. And this is an example of the increasing importance of spirituality in creative tourism and in life in general. And they have developed this as a network of temples, which now has an internet booking portal, so you can book your stay and various aspects of Buddhist life via the internet. In Barcelona, one particular product which I've followed with interest has been the development of, if you like, design as an aspect of creative tourism. A young Catalan architect, Esther Rovira, has developed the camping house apartment. So if you want a different kind of accommodation experience, you can go and stay in the camping house, which she has designed to be a camping experience in the middle of the city, with the use of different materials which suggest the outdoors rather than the indoors, and with different elements of design which are designed to be attractive and to appeal, of course, to design professionals who want to come and taste an example of how to do this kind of thing. So it's designers catering to other designers. Interestingly, she's added new aspects to this product which are related to local Catalan culture as well. So she gives people, when they arrive, a book of vouchers. And it's vouchers for things like a loaf of bread. Now, you think not very exciting, but it forces you to go downstairs and talk to the woman in the baker's on the ground floor. And she's been instructed to speak to you in Catalan. So you get your first experience of speaking Catalan through buying a loaf of bread in the local baker's, which you might otherwise not do as a tourist. And of course, as tourists, we all want to make sure we use those vouchers. So it's a good way of controlling our contact with the local population, the local creativity, and so on. And hopefully, people go away with new creative skills as a result. And this can be expanded beyond the city as well, out into the landscape. And I realised a couple of weeks ago that I was actually being a creative tourist in the Penedès region, just south of Barcelona. And the interesting thing about this is that years ago you would go to a vineyard and you would have a tasting, you would buy a case of wine and then go home again. These days you go there for a morning or for a whole day, and you learn all about the vines, you learn about the winemaking process, you learn about the relationship between wine and food, you learn about the local culture, and this is really a creative experience. You come away with new skills and knowledge at the end of it. And this adds a considerable amount of value to the experience as well. So, whereas in the old days they would just sell the wine and make some money on the wine, now they are selling creative courses at much higher prices and selling the wine as well. So this is all adding value to the system. And these kind of creative experiences can also be linked into networks. There's an interesting network called My Creative Tours, which links local people acting as effectively guides with tourists. So if you want to find out from the real locals about what's happening in a city, then you can go and take a Catalan cooking in Barcelona tour through this network. And interestingly, Barcelona has a very large number of listings in this site, so it shows that this type of tourism is developing very rapidly in Barcelona. And again, as you can see, this is not cheap. This is a €700 package over 4 days. So you're talking about developing the value of the product through adding creativity and through bringing the tourist and the local together in a co-creation situation.